Another delivery at Supreme Gecko. This time it's not geckos, it's not bugs, it's something completely different, and we'll find out in just a second what it is. I don't know if you can see outside, but that's snow. That's about 4 inches of snow. We're getting about 8 inches today, and we just got an order of mealworms. 40,000 mealworms came in. This was good because I was out of mealworms. I was down to about a couple of weeks and really needed to get a shipment in. So I'm going to go ahead and break for a second. I'm going to open some of these boxes, and I'll show you how I put them away and how we deal with our mealworms. Here's the 40,000 mealworms coming in from the bug company in the middle of winter. There's 8 boxes. Each one has 5,000. So what I've done is I've opened one of the boxes. I've taken the paper and the mealworms out of the chiffon bagging. I'll use this bagging later on for like isopod ventilation holes. It's great coverage for those holes. It allows the air to pass through for ventilation. And it tends to keep the gnats and bugs out of the isopods. A lot of mealworms here. So I'm going to, they come in this either newspaper or baking paper. So I'm going to go ahead and, or butcher paper. I'm going to go ahead and undo one of these, and you'll see how many mealworms we're talking about for 5,000 mealworms and what I do with the rest. Okay, all the mealworms are out of the paper now, and while we take the next step to prepare these, I'll mention a couple of things. You can use a mask while you're unboxing if you are allergic to these mealworms. I've not developed an allergy to the mealworms like I know some people have. I do have a little bit of an allergy with the frass that these mealworms produce, but not to the mealworms, so I didn't wear the mask. Also, when these bugs came in, I set the box aside. I opened the boxes, set them aside for about a half hour just so that the boxes would warm up before I did anything in addition. That allows the mealworms to come in, be opened, and now I can check the mealworms to see how healthy they are. And if you look at these mealworms, this is a great example of what the bug company does. These are nice and healthy mealworms. You can see a few, and not many at all. You can see a few dead mealworms in here. Whoops. I'll pick those out as much as I can before putting these away. But I'm not worried about that because the bug company always includes a nice overage to compensate for those mealworms that died. If you do have a shipment that get stuck somewhere, weather concerns, certainly call them and take as many pictures as you can and send it over. And I've never had an issue with the bug company compensating me for any losses. I think for 15 years now we've been ordering from them, and I think I've had 1, maybe 2 issues with the mealworms. So we're ready for the next step here. You can see this is 5,000 mealworms. They're ready to go. Another note that I want to point out is this box is absolutely dry. You want no moisture whatsoever. The worst enemy to mealworms is any kind of a moisture. So we're ready for the next step. I take an egg carton, I tear it in half, and I place that, the mask out of there. I place the egg carton in the container with the mealworms. Just gives them something to crawl on. The next step, and this is such a key, and I've learned this over the years, you want to feed mealworms right from the bat, right from when you get them in, but you don't want to feed them anything moist. If you feed them something moist, the mealworms are going to absorb that moisture. They're going to produce real wet frass, and it's just going to be a terrible experience. It doesn't do well. What they're looking for is some kind of a grain food. So we get this I don't know if I can get a zoom on this, but we get these tortillas, corn-based tortillas, and a bag like this will last months and months. I don't even know how many tortillas were in there, 100, maybe 50, but 4 pounds. 4 pounds has lasted me about a month. We'll take these tortillas, we'll go ahead and put them in the container like this, and I'll go ahead and check these the next day to make sure that the mealworms are eating and make sure everything's doing well. But you can see the mealworms are nice and healthy. The last thing that you want to do is get these mealworms in and feed them right away. So what we tend to do is get the mealworms in, put the tortillas in, get them set up. I'll put them in a place that's a little cooler, around 60 to 70 degrees. The warmer temperatures will cause them to pupate, so we like to keep them a little bit cooler before we feed them. You can see some of the mealworms are already going over the tortilla. But then when we're ready to feed the mealworms, and I'll create another video to cover some of these basics and some of the basics in gut loading, but we'll feed them other foods like carrots or green peppers, red peppers, something that will give them a little bit of a gut load for the geckos. So we'll go ahead and put these away, and I'll show you how I deal with the other 35,000 mealworms that we have sitting here. I've opened another box of the mealworms, another 5,000, and what I'll do is I'll put these aside in these smaller containers. I hope you can get a good view of this. Again, 5,000 per container. I like to put a piece of egg carton in here. It helps with keeping away any moisture. I also use a top that has some holes in it. If you're going to keep these mealworms out somewhere other than in the fridge, and I'll talk about how long they last in the fridge in just a second, but if you're going to keep them out, a good suggestion is using this rolled oats. Any type of an oatmeal type of food, put it about 1/2 inch deep. The mealworms do great in this mealworm for months and months before they pupate if you keep them cool enough. We don't use the oats unless we're actually breeding mealworms. Again, for us, the tortillas work great, and any excess that we can't feed off within about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll include in these small containers. So that's what 40,000 mealworms looks like. We'll go through these mealworms in probably about 3 months worth with all the feeding that we're doing. And again, it's that time of the year that we're not going through a ton of foods. But these mealworms do us for the winter. We'll also supplement with some dubias and occasional crickets, and certainly the crusteds will get the crested gecko diet. But this is a primary source of our food for all of our geckos, actually. If you have any questions, leave your questions below in the comments, and certainly I would appreciate if you subscribed and hit that notification button. Until next time, this is Wally Kern with Supreme Gecko. Thanks for watching.